Hello, this is The Rats in the Walls by H.P. Lovecraft review. Here I have the Penguin Classics collection, which was edited by S.T. Joshi. Yeah, it was published in 1999, but by by now he's like published excessively published. His work is like all over the stores, and you can get a variety of collections of H.P. Lovecraft. He's widely renowned now. He's not like very underground like his some of his friends, Clark Ashton Smith. He's pretty underground right now. He's not all that famous. Hopefully in the future he will get the same fame as H.P. Lovecraft, but now so this is the Rats in the Walls. So basically there's like this narrator. I'm not it doesn't really say his name, but it goes on, he starts talking about his ancestors, having like a foundation. His ancestors' foundation. He wants to reconstruct a huge mansion that his ancestors used to used to own back in like in medieval times, and so he talks about that, and so he wants to reconstruct it. He wants to go back to this huge mansion which has been abandoned and reconstruct it. But while trying to reconstruct it, he hears just a bunch of legends and rumors that it's haunted. He gets rumors that it's haunted and stuff. And his son came back from the war, from World War One, and as a cripple, very injured. But his son brought along with him a friend who is called Captain Norris. There you go. Whom is called Captain Norris, and so he and him get together and work and do a lot of research on these legions, on whether they're facts or not. So they both become really good friends, and they reconstruct it. And one of the legions was very like racist. Like he put out there was this remark where he was like one of his ancestors uh became like a disgrace. One of his ancestors was like a disgrace because he left his family and became a voodoo priest for these African people. So that's the first aspect of so it's like the first like denoted racism that started appearing in the story. So he says that, and then later on in the story, he alright. So he finished this reconstructing the foundation with Captain Norris, and he's happy. He's in a pleasant environment. He's in his house, in a room, and then he finally brings in he furnishes his his mansion that he inherited from his ancestors with cats. He says he before he moved in he accumulated lots of cats, like seven I believe. And when he referred one, and then this is the most like controversial denoted racism. He named one of his cats Nigger Man. So yeah, and then he constantly uses that term. He just constantly refers to his cat as Nigger Man plenty of times in the text. And so yeah, his black cat. He even verbatim also refers to his cat as a black cat and a jetty cat and a black cat. But he usually uses the his name Nigger Man constantly a lot more than that. And for those people out there that think that the term nigger in the early 20th century wasn't really like a derogatory thing, it was. And the reason how I know this is because I actually have a dictionary from the 1933, And it even says in that dictionary that it's a derogatory term, like it's not well accepted term. So you get that mixed up with the term nigger and negro. Negro was mostly like accepted and referring to as like black Americans, but not the N word. So anyways, finally sleeps in his bed. He's in his like really huge family bed, or like covered with fabrics, and he's like in this very like stone tent tentillated room. It's cobblestone because it's a very ancient mansion. So he's in his cobblestone massive room. He starts to his tapestry started to move back and forth and start to be wavy. This is the first like horror scene. And when I first read this, I was kind of scared, to be honest. I was intimidated. And the way he describes it, like, so his tapestry on his wall started waving a lot, and then his tapestry fell down into the you know tentillated floor. It eventually starts like having like it should be wavy and stuff, and it just stays on the ground. And they were basically the rats. The rats were hiding behind the fabric or the tapestry. So that's that one scary scene. Alright, so after he witnessed that, he calls in his friend Captain Norris, and so they gather more information. I'm trying to see. Alright, so there are rats in here. Alright, so we're screwed. There are rats. So he invites his friend Captain Norris. He appoints Captain Norris to a rendezvous in his mansion, and then they both meet up and start exploring the mansion. He's like, okay, this is strange. Let me explore this a lot more. What I've witnessed was really strange, and explore this a lot more. So they explore it. They go inside this crypt or grotto or cave that was hidden in his mansion, and so they get into there. They start witnessing a bunch of like horror and like ghostly stuff, like moving objects, and his cats start behaving strange. After they experience all this, scary stuff, they didn't want to continue going on. Instead, they want to have more people, more educated and well um, cultivated individuals who are eminent in archaeology and ancient stuff. They go back. He quickly Lovecraft he quickly writes like, alright, so they eventually gather a bunch of people, a bunch of archaeologists or antiquarians, and he says that they're very skeptical. They don't think that it's haunted, the mansion is haunted, and there is no secret cave in his mansion or secret subterranean in his mansion. So and then they go back to the scene where they're in the subterranean, hidden with all these people. So now that more I continue on the story, it's more of like, alright, so the whole typical story where the guy is really the main protagonist is skeptical and doesn't believe in what other people say about something being bad, and then eventually they just die at the end because they didn't listen to the populace saying that oh, this is bad, don't do this. So it's that typical story, but in this case he doesn't die. It's actually his friend. But so yeah, they eventually get into this crypt or grotto, and before they even discovered the cave, the narrator said that he started to have dreams, and his started having dreams of his like swineherd or somebody who takes care of cattle or pigs, who has a flabby face, is in a cave in the subterranean. Eventually, so he's in the cave. They witness a bunch of like Romanesque cyclopean objects, monoliths and ancient like medieval stuff, which all had to do with his ancestors and family. There's this scene where the narrator finds skeletons in his cell, in a jail cell, and one of the skeletons had a ring of his family's coat of arms. And so eventually they're all just staying in there for a while. The narrator is just describing everything that they're witnessing, and then eventually the rats come. Oh, and one of the big spectacle in the cave that Lovecraft mentioned is that there are like mountains and heaps of like skeletons, like ape skeletons and human skeletons, just like mountains and piles of skeletons. Like, and there's this scene where the narrator says that the nigger man went on top of the pile of skeletons. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And then eventually the rats come and they start eating the not the antiquarians, but they attack Captain Norris. They attack him, and he falls into like this ditch or a hole. I think, yeah, he just falls into like this ditch. No, he gets eaten. He falls into the ditch or hole, and then nigger man started like biting his neck or something like that. It was really strange. I couldn't comprehend that one scene on why he needed to put that. But yeah, eventually the rats just eat his friend Cam Norris in a ditch. Cam Norris falls in there. Cam Norris gets eaten by the rats, like all the way up from like his waist down. Like his legs and like genital area was literally like eradicated and ripped off by the rats. And then the Antiquarians finally get help. No, no, not the Antiquarians, but other people. I guess the Antiquarians calling for help, and they take him into like a psychiatric asylum or facility or hospital. And all of the people there are very skeptical and saying and trying to claim that he actually in fact killed Captain Norris, his friend, and not the rats. They don't believe that there are rats. Like he did it himself. He killed the person himself, and also he had like a deja vu sort of his because he had a dream of somebody being in the cave, and so it was him. He was the guy being in the cave. So he had like a deja vu. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Typical like, oh, stupid guy's not listening to the populace, or and so therefore he dies. So typical like scary story concept right there. But uh, like I said, the most what makes this story very remarkable is the whole setting of the English medieval type of setting. Like I said, is what makes it very remarkable. How H.P. Lovecraft describes Romanesque and Cyclopean world, medieval world, medieval mansions, and the history of medieval Europe. So I think that's what makes this story very interesting. How H.P. Lovecraft relays all that is what makes the story very remarkable. But the concept again is very basic. It's nothing very interesting in terms of just a concept.